Hello there and welcome to another episode of Cannonball Diva Chronicles. I'm Cannonball Diva. I'm fresh-faced today, as you can see. I decided I'm not putting any foundation or eye pencil, just my lipstick and a little bit of eyebrow pencil because the skin has to breathe, you know. So today our discussion is going to focus on how we can reduce the significance of the narcissist in order to reduce his or her abuse and control over us. Please stay tuned.
Soundstripe.
In order to get our minds and focus away from what the narcissist is doing to torment us and to distract us and to abuse us, it is important to have a hobby or routine that gets us out of that context or that environment of torment. In my own life, I found it very helpful, like I mentioned in the past, to be a member of a good gym because exercise gets the mind away from what's happening around you and focused on bettering yourself in many ways. And also, don't forget the hormone, the serotonin hormone, the hormone of happiness, as they call it, that also gets released when you're active. It's best to get the narcissist out of your mind also by limiting contact with them wherever necessary or possible, because the narcissist knows that you are not aware that you're getting you're giving him or her supply. So the best way is to limit that supply that they're getting from you as a person by staying away from them as much as possible. Limiting their control over you is very important, because if they continue to control you and you never have time off on your own to go about your own activities, then all you will be thinking about every day is focused on the abuse and how you can justify it and how you can also defend yourself from them. So leveraging your power as a person by looking for what makes you as an individual happy, fulfilled, and very strong is important, because everybody has what brings them joy. If it's music, then look for music you can play with your earphones or in a quiet place that takes you out of that area and that vicinity and gets your mind focused on better things. If it's going out to see friends, if you're allowed, because many narcissists do not allow their victims too much free time outside of their home or outside of where they live to go out and meet friends. One way in which I found I was able to get away from that area and that environment was by applying for long distance travel assignments as a nurse. I prayed about this for many months because I wanted some time away from that toxic environment. And nothing came to mind until one day I ran into a friend at work who was talking about her exciting adventures with all the traveling she'd been doing in the last few months. And I asked her what it was. And that is how our God works. Our God works many times through people, through friends, through colleagues, through people you would never imagine. And this friend of mine was someone I had not seen in a long time. And when I ran into her, I was just about to say hi quickly and go by onwards because I had finished work and I just wanted to go onto my car and drive off. And she said hi, and I asked her how she'd been. And she said, I've been away traveling, doing traveling nursing. It's so nice. I love it. That's why you've not been seeing me. And I asked her what that was. And after she had explained briefly, she said she would call me and give me more information. That night I went home and I just thought about it. I said, wow, this could be the answer. Travel nursing. When you travel away, leave your area and just leave that environment, that toxic environment. Obviously, my children will be under his care, which has its pros and cons because he was their father. But at the same time, sometimes he's not the most happy person around them. But I needed that time away to maintain my peace, because it takes having peace as a mother to be even a good mother to your own children. So I went home and I prayed. I prayed about it for a few days. After hearing from her, I decided to apply. And that's how my adventures in travel nursing began. It gave me a time away from that environment, and it was so good for me because it was such a big break from the constant hassling, the constant accusations, the constant finger pointing, and the constant screaming sessions that I had gotten used to. After spending 2 weeks there, I realized that I'd found a passion, which was going to different First Nation communities to work, where a lot of nursing was needed urgently, and many agencies were hiring nurses to fill the positions that had become available over the few months that I'd worked there. So it wasn't hard to find work. I kept going like every few months here and there. I'd go for like a month. The longest I stayed was 2 months because they couldn't let me go sooner because they needed someone urgently to cover the clinic where I was working. Being a travel nurse was a good answer to get myself away and leverage myself as a nurse and also a person who was trying to get away from a toxic environment. So I was getting the best of both worlds, so to speak. The unfortunate part was that I would come visit my children. I came back and visited them after the 2 months was done. That was the longest time I stayed, was 2 months away. And then afterwards, I only took like 3 weeks, sometimes 4 weeks while he was around. I made sure I travel when he was around. So the good equation of the whole arrangement was that while I was away working, he was with the children. And when I would come back, he would be ready to go back to Africa. And then I would be with the children then. So it's like we're doing shared parenting, or if that's the right terminology, So the most important part was he got to spend time with his children, which was important for him and them. But I limited my time and my hours that I spent with him because I made sure I came back when it was time for him to leave. That's the way I maintained my peace towards the last few months prior to the end of my relationship. It's very important to look for what gets your mind out of the funk of all the abuse, all the resultant abuse, and what it could cause in you and to you as a person. Like I mentioned in the past, it could cause sickness, disease. Irritable bowel syndrome was something I started to develop after many years. I think I started to feel like symptoms of it towards the 23rd year of my relationship. I would have a lot of bloating, a lot of gas. I would have a lot of, like, my stomach would rumble and I would hear my stomach rumbling, like uncontrollably. And it became something that I had to go and see the doctor about. And I couldn't understand what was going on. Because that nervous feeling, you know how people say, I feel that feeling in the pit of my stomach. When you're nervous and someone is constantly attacking you, accusing you, and you have that feeling in your stomach like you have to defend yourself. It's a tight knot in your stomach where you feel you have to defend yourself all the time. That is one of the things that results from being in a toxic relationship. Sometimes you start to vomit bile when you can't eat and your stomach is empty and you have this queasy feeling in your stomach. You can't eat, you can't digest your food properly, you can't sleep, you suffer from insomnia, you sleep, even when you manage to sleep for a few hours, you have nightmares and you have dreams of turbulence and all kinds of things happening because of the environment in which you live in. So, like I said in the past, being in that kind of relationship has a far-reaching effect on your health if you do not manage it properly. For those who cannot help but argue with their spouse or their partner, those people I feel might have the worst of it, because then you've gotten yourself into that, it's just a twisted, continuous, bad, environment of just having to defend yourself every single day. If you can't help it but to argue, that will probably be your end result. But some other people who find it easy just to silently acknowledge whatever it is the narcissist is saying and quietly leave, or quietly just move away to a different room or not say a thing, those people might have it a little bit easier, because then the narcissist might not have a lot more to throw at them in way of argument or accusations or pointing a finger or raising their voice, because you can't yell at a stone wall. When someone stonewalls you and doesn't say a word to you and you're angry, you end up feeling like a fool. But the narcissist knows how to get his response or her response from their victims, because I've experienced one narcissist say to me one time, she thought she was going to silently watch me, but I was going to tell her that yes, she's going to have a reaction. He was trying to get a reaction out of someone he was yelling at, and the person just had a stone face and didn't say anything back. I had a poker face on. And he just kept saying worse and worse things until the person burst into tears, and he was like, aha, I got her. That is the result of dealing with a narcissist. They want a negative result from you. If they don't get a result from you like that, they do not back away or back down. If you can afford to walk away from them, do it. But if it's not safe, because some narcissists hate people turning their backs on them, people that are under their control especially, and they'll try to lash out physically or even more verbally or more violently. That is why it's important to get help in those situations. Getting the authorities involved might be the best thing, but just know that once you get the authorities involved, that might be a downslide from there or downhill from there, because then you can't go back to the narcissist after that, because the narcissist will penalize and punish you forever. And the punishment is only going to be worse if you let the narcissist back into your life after involving the authorities, which was my case. But that's a story for another day. Suffice to say, you need to get yourself away from that environment wherever possible. And wherever it's not possible, or whenever it's not possible, learn to get yourself a routine or get yourself into a space where you limit the authority and the power the narcissist has over your life. With that, I'll come to an end for today. I thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that the things I'm saying is helping somebody out there who's going through something similar to what I've experienced. I believe that the plan that God has for you are good and not of evil, but to give you a future and a hope. So let that hope rest in your heart and know that God has you, has got you. Thank you and have a good night.